Okay, well, namaste everybody. Tonight, I'm here to share with you some good news about our education ecosystem. For 75 years, despite having played a role in producing students who went on to become some of the world's leading executives, researchers, academics, you know that our education ecosystem is often discredited with its lack of imagination and rote learning. I want to share with you tonight how things are changing. To do that, let me start us with a little pop quiz. Over the next few slides, I am going to share with you a few examples of innovations. And for each innovation, I want you to guess who is likely to be an innovator behind this innovation. Are you ready? Okay, here's the first one. It's called EcoPen. It's a pen made out of dragonweed stems that can reduce the plastic consumption. Let's talk about the problem first. Dragonweed is a problem for agriculture, not just in India, but even more so in industrialized nations of North America, Western Europe, Australia, and so on. If you've been anywhere close to an Indian farm, you have seen dragonweed growing wildly. What dragonweed does is it can reduce a crop's yield by up to 50%. If cows eat it, you will have a bad odor in the milk. And if you irrigate the farm, you will need more water because the dragonweed sucks up a bunch of water. Let's talk about the plastic and pens. India alone uses 11 billion pens a year. 60% of an average pen is made of plastic. So this is a big problem, and behind such a solution is first the empathy to recognize this big problem and the skill and the audacity to come up with a creative solution to it. Here's a question for you. Is this an innovation of a girl or a boy? Is it an innovation from a rural area or an urban area? Is it an innovation from a private or a government school? Is this a student with a special need or without it? And is this an Indian student or is it a foreign student? Ready for an answer? Okay. This innovation is by Yashaswini. She is a class 7 student in a small town of Dharmavaram, Andhra Pradesh, in southern part of India, and Yashaswini is hearing and speech impaired. Want to try one more example? Okay, here's one more. Innovation for women's safety. Slippers that one can use to trigger an alarm in case one faces danger. How does it work? In this slipper, in that little button of the slippers that we wear, there's a sensor, and if you sense danger, you can powerfully stomp your foot on the ground, and the sensor triggers and sends an alarm, sends a message to the nearby police station and says, hey, I'm in trouble, and here's my location. Let's talk about this problem first. Women's safety is a problem worldwide. But let's talk about India numbers. The National Crime Record Bureau of India registered 35,331 cases of violence against women in the year 2021. And these are only registered cases. Okay, so this is also a big problem. And behind such a solution is also the empathy to recognize this big problem and come up, and the skill and the audacity to come up with a creative solution for it. Here is a question for you. Is this a girl student or a boy student? Is this a rural or an urban student? Is this a student from a private or a government school? Is this a student with special need? Is this an Indian student or a foreign student? Here's the answer. This innovation is a team of two boys, Shiv Kumar and Surya. They are class line students from a private school in Trichy, Tamil Nadu. Now, I can show you thousands of such examples, but that's really not the point. Here's the question I want to ask you. As I described these innovations, how many of you felt absolutely certain that you could have guessed who this innovator is? If you felt absolutely certain, please raise your hand. Okay, there are very few hands. Most people didn't feel absolutely certain. That's really the point. The point is that to be innovative, to create innovations, it doesn't really matter which gender you are, what is your geographical location, whether you are from a public institution or a private institution, are you a person with some special need or not, which nationality you are. And this truth is being validated in schools of India, many, many schools across India today than ever before. The examples that I showed you are those of students of Atal Tinkering Labs, which are maker spaces built by the Government of India's flagship program, Atal Innovation Mission, across India. Today, there are close to 10,000 schools that have Atal Tinkering Labs. There are more than 7.5 million students who are exposed to such innovation and tinkering. There are more than 1.1 million innovative projects carried out. There are more than 9,600 teachers who run these labs. And there are more than 5,500 volunteers who are professionals in their own right, bringing their expertise to nurture student innovators. Atal Innovation Mission is housed inside the Niti Aayog, which is Government of India's central think tank, and is tasked with creating and nurturing a culture of innovation and entrepreneurship across our nation. ATLs is one of several programs Atal Innovation Mission runs. I, Chintan Vaishnav, serve as the mission director of this Atal Innovation Mission. And in the audience, there are several of my younger colleagues who really do the real work. So you might ask, what really changed for these students to express creativity? So let me tell you what changed. Inside these environments of Atal Tinkering Labs, several things changed. Inside these labs, inside these environments, they were challenged, they were not tested. They worked on real-world problems, not hypothetical problems. They designed a solution, not consume a solution that somebody else has designed. They worked with their head, hands, and heart, not just work with their heads. And they were having fun, not getting bored. One more important thing, they realized that when there's a problem, there can be many solutions, not just one solution. Above all, if we were to summarize in one sentence, in these environments, problems came before solutions. Let me repeat that. In these environments, problems came before solutions. If you see our classrooms, not only India, but around most of the parts of the world, it is exactly the other way around. We first teach students solutions and then ask them problems in their examinations. In real life, it is exactly the opposite. Education begins when problems precede solutions. Let me tell you what these labs look like. If you scan this picture from the rightmost to the leftmost, on your rightmost you see a 3D printer and sometimes a vinyl cutter. Then you see two desks which are soldering desks where you can make electronics. To the left of that, you can see hanging tools, hand tools. To the left of that, you see a notice board, and under the notice board, there is a modular screen that you can pull up to present your work. And to the very left, you see a printer and a small little boxes of resistors, capacitors, sensors, actuators, and so on. Now, the idea of tinkering is not at all shackled by such tools or such spaces. Once initiated, these students go on to enlist all sorts of things, all the way from their household material to the most sophisticated materials and techniques to express their ideas. There's one more thing which doesn't matter for innovation, which is geography. And what I want to show you are glimpses of labs that we have built in some of the toughest terrains of our country. If you look from the top left, go clockwise, we have built them in northeastern state of Sikkim and beyond. We have built them in the northern Himalayan region of Ladakh. We have built them in tribal states like Chhattisgarh. We have built them on the southernmost tip of India in Kerala. We have built them in the eastern islands of Andaman and Nicobar, actually 10 labs in Andaman and Nicobar, and in the border regions like Kargil, Kashmir. So these labs are everywhere in our country. Now, somebody could reasonably ask that we have known about maker spaces for a long time. So why are you making a big deal out of it? So I want to tell you that what really happens when you build them on a large scale. I want to tell you what really happens when schools transform into innovation hubs. So what happens is that the students take over. They go on to build clubs like the Tinker Champs Club, where they have created a certification program for their fellow students to learn tinkering. In Tinker Champs, I was shocked to see that students have put together classes where students teach technology classes to teachers. Think about that for a second, right? They go on to build ventures, like we have seen in Tinkerpreneur program last year, when more than 9,000 teams came together and took their idea to a digital venture. Several hundred ventures came out of it. They go on to win global challenges like the IBM the coding challenge, where 5 students from 5 different ATLs came together to participate in this challenge and won the first place in 500,000 teams. They earned $200,000 first prize and were the first team from India to ever do so. They go on to build innovations that make their classrooms more inclusive. Last month, we hosted a demo day for assistive technology innovations, and we found that several ATL students have built innovations that make their own classroom more inclusive for their fellow students with special needs. They go on to file patents and earn them, and they go on to earn scholarships at universities based on their work from schools. Now, most importantly, they go on to embrace communities' problems and come up with innovative solutions like the ones I showed you before. You might ask, are we done? The answer is no. India alone has 260,000 secondary and higher secondary schools. We have so far built only 10,000 labs. Still, we are the country where this experiment is happening at the largest scale anywhere in the world. We are the first country in the world to have figured out how to select, establish, enable, celebrate, monitor such environments on such a large scale. If you are passionate about the education of our children, like I am, you very well know that we have a long distance to walk when it comes to undoing the legacy of rote learning. But at least we know how to do it. We know that when we build environments where problems precede solutions, we will be able to change the legacy of rote learning. And we also know how to build such environments on a very large scale. So if you are somebody who has resources, come help us scale. If you are somebody who has skills, come donate your skills. We will take it to young innovators. And if you are a nation that is wondering how can you replicate something like this in your own nation, come learn from us. We are the world's largest democracy. We're happy to work with you, and we are happy to take our collective learning to the rest of the world because the tinkering movement has just begun. Thank you very much.